My name is Emily, and I live in a small ranch-style house in a quiet suburb of Boise, Idaho. It's the kind of place where everyone knows each other, and the most exciting thing that happens is the annual block party. I'm a junior in college, and last fall, my parents went on a weekend trip to visit my aunt in Seattle, leaving me home alone. I was fine with it, honestly. I was looking forward to some peace and quiet, to catch up on schoolwork and binge a few shows. But what happened that first night still haunts me, and I don't think I'll ever feel safe in that house again. It was a Friday. Around 11:30 p.m., I was sprawled on the couch in the living room, a bowl of popcorn on my lap, watching some true crime documentary on Netflix. The house was dark, except for the TV's glow and a single lamp in the corner. Outside, the wind was picking up, rattling the windows every now and then. I didn't think much of it. Idaho gets windy in the fall. But then, out of nowhere, I heard a knock at the front door. 3 sharp raps, loud and deliberate. My hand halfway to my mouth with a piece of popcorn. It was almost midnight, and I wasn't expecting anyone. My parents weren't due back until Sunday, and none of my friends would show up unannounced this late. I muted the TV, the silence flooding the room, and waited, hoping it was just a one-off. Maybe a neighbor's kid playing a prank. But then it came again. Knock, 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 same rhythm, same force. I grabbed my phone, my heart thudding, and crept toward the front door. Our door has a small peephole, so I pressed my eye against it, expecting to see a familiar face or maybe nothing at all. But the porch was empty, just the yellow glow of the porch light and the shadows of the junipers swaying in the wind. I checked the Ring camera feed on my phone. Nothing. No one was there. I let out a shaky breath, convincing myself it was the wind or a branch hitting the door. I went back to the couch, unmuted the TV, and tried to focus on the show. But 5 minutes later, the knocking came again, this time louder, almost aggressive. Knock. K-N-O-C-K. K-N-O-C-K. My stomach dropped. I turned off the TV completely and sat there, listening. The house was dead silent, except for the faint howl of the wind. I texted my best friend Mia, asking if she was messing with me. She replied instantly, "Dude, I'm at home. You okay?" I didn't know what to do. Calling the police felt like overreacting, but the knocking was freaking me out. I decided to check the back door in the kitchen, just to make sure everything was locked. As I stepped into the kitchen, the motion sensor light outside flicked on, flooding the backyard with a harsh white glow. I froze, staring out the glass sliding door. There was nothing out there, just the patio furniture and my mom's flower garden. But then, as the light clicked off, I swear I saw something move near the fence, a shadow, tall and thin, darting out of sight. My hands were shaking as I double-checked the lock. I grabbed a kitchen knife, feeling ridiculous but not wanting to take chances. I went room to room, checking every window and door. Everything was secure, but the unease wouldn't leave me. I settled back on the couch, knife on the coffee table, and tried to calm down. That's when I heard it, not a knock, but a faint scratching sound, like nails dragging across wood. Coming from the front door, I grabbed my phone and opened the Ring app again. The camera showed nothing, just the empty porch, but the scratching continued, slow and deliberate, like someone was trying to carve something into the door. I called 911, whispering to the operator that someone was outside my house. She told me to stay calm and that a patrol car was on the way. While I waited, the scratching stopped, replaced by something worse, a low, guttural hum, like someone was standing right outside, vocalizing softly. I hid in the hallway closet. Clutching the knife, my phone pressed to my ear. The operator stayed on the line, telling me the police were 5 minutes out. But then I heard the front door creak, like it was being pushed open. I hadn't heard it unlock, but the sound was unmistakable, the slow groan of hinges. Footsteps followed, heavy and deliberate, moving through the living room. I held my breath, tears streaming down my face, praying it was my imagination. The footsteps stopped right outside. The closet door, I could hear breathing now, slow and ragged, like whoever it was knew exactly where I was. My phone vibrated, Mia texting me, asking if I was okay. The sound was tiny, but in the silence, it felt like a gunshot. The breathing stopped. Then, a single knock on the closet door. "Knock," I screamed, dropping the knife, and the operator's voice came through, sharp and urgent. "Emily, the police are there. They're at your front door." I stumbled out of the closet, expecting to see someone, but the hallway was empty. The front door was wide open, the cold night air pouring in. The police searched the house and yard but found nothing, no footprints, no signs of forced entry, nothing on the Ring camera. The front door's lock was intact, like it had never been opened. But the next morning, I found something that still makes my skin crawl. Carved into the inside of the closet door, where I'd been hiding, were the words, "I see you." I moved out a week later, staying with Mia until my parents got back. They installed new locks and cameras, but I refused to stay there alone again. Sometimes, late at night, I still hear that low hum in my dreams, and I wake up checking my closet, terrified I'll see those words again. I'm Ryan, and I grew up in an old split-level house in the suburbs of Denver, Colorado. My parents were always working late, so I spent a lot of time home alone, especially during my senior year of high school. It was 2024, and I was 17, enjoying the freedom of having the house to myself. But one night in February, something happened that made me wish I'd never been alone in that house. It was a Tuesday, around 8 p.m., and a snowstorm was raging outside. The power had flickered earlier, but it was holding steady now. I was in the living room playing video games, the heater humming in the background. The house was quiet except for the occasional howl of the wind. My parents weren't due back until midnight, so I had the place to myself. I liked the solitude usually, but that night something felt off. Around 9 p.m., I heard a thud from the basement. It wasn't loud, just a dull thump, like something heavy had fallen over. Our basement was unfinished, full of old furniture, boxers, and my dad's tools. I figured maybe a shelf had tipped or something had settled in the cold. I ignored it, turning up the game's volume. But then it happened again, another thud, followed by a faint scraping sound, like metal dragging across concrete. I paused the game. The basement door was in the kitchen, just off the living room. I grabbed my phone and a flashlight, telling myself it was probably nothing. The house was old, and weird noises weren't uncommon. But as I opened the basement door, a cold draft hit me, carrying a musty, damp smell. The light switch at the top of the stairs didn't work great. The bulb must have blown. I flicked on the flashlight and started down the creaky wooden steps. The basement was a maze of shadows, the flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. I scanned the room, seeing nothing but stacks of boxes and old bikes. Then I noticed a faint, flickering light coming from behind a pile of moving crates in the far corner. It wasn't steady, like a bulb. It pulsed softly, like a dying fire. I called out, "Hello? Is someone there?" My voice echoed unanswered. I should have gone back upstairs, but curiosity got the better of me. I moved toward the light, weaving through the clutter. The air grew colder, the musty smell stronger. When I reached the crates, I saw it, an old camping lantern, glowing faintly on the floor. It wasn't ours-eyed, never seen it before. Its light flickered, casting eerie shadows on the concrete walls. I bent down to pick it up, almost inaudible, like a breath. "Ryan." I dropped the lantern, the glass shattering, plunging the corner into darkness. My flashlight beam shook as I swung it around, my heart hammering. "Who's there?" I shouted. No answer, just the distant howl of the storm outside. I backed toward the stairs, my sneakers crunching on the broken glass. Then I heard a Dagina whisper, "Closer now. Right behind me, don't leave." I bolted up the stairs, slamming the basement door and locking it. My hands were trembling as I called my dad, who told me to calm down and check the windows, maybe someone had broken in. but the snow was piling up outside. There were no footprints, no signs of entry. I grabbed a baseball bat and sat in the living room, eyes glued to the basement door, listening for any sound. Around 10 p.m., the power went out. The house plunged into darkness, the only light coming from my phone and the faint glow of the snow outside. I turned on my phone's flashlight, my breath visible in the cold air. That's when I heard the basement door rattle, like someone was pushing against it. I gripped the bat. "Who's there?" I yelled. The rattling stopped, but then came a slow, deliberate knock. Knock, knock, knock. I backed toward the front door, ready to run into the storm if I had to. But then the knocking stopped, and the silence was worse. I waited, frozen, until the power flickered back on around 11. My parents got home an hour later, and we searched the basement together. The lantern was gone, the glass cleaned up, but there was something else, a small, rusted padlock on the floor, one I'd never seen before, lying in the exact spot where the lantern had been. We moved out that summer. I never went back to the basement, but sometimes, when I'm alone at night, I hear that whisper again, faint and distant. Don't leave. I checked the house's history later and found out a tenant had disappeared there. In the 80s, last seen in the basement. They never found him. I'm Kayla, and I live in a cozy townhouse in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm 24, a graphic designer, and I work from home, which means I spend a lot of time alone. Last summer, my roommate Jess went on a 2-week trip to Europe, leaving me by myself. I was excited for the space blasting music, eating junk food, no one to judge. But one night, that excitement turned into terror, and I'm still not sure what I saw. It was a humid July evening. Around 10 p.m., I was in my upstairs office, working on a logo design, my desk fan humming. The windows were open to let in the breeze, the cicadas buzzing outside. I'd left the downstairs lights off to save on the electric bill, so the house was mostly dark. I was deep in my work when I heard a faint tap on the window behind me. It was soft, like a bug hitting the glass. But then it came again, louder, more deliberate. Tap, tap, tap. I turned around, my chair creaking. The window faced the backyard, a small fenced-in area with a few trees. The streetlights barely reached back there, so it was pitch black. I grabbed my phone and shone its flashlight through the glass, expecting to see a branch or maybe a bird. But there was nothing, just the dark outline of the trees swaying in the breeze. I shrugged it off and went back to work. 10 minutes later, the tapping returned, faster now, almost rhythmic. I froze, my skin prickling. I turned off my desk lamp and peered out the window again, using my phone's light. That's when I saw it, a face. It was human, but wrong, like a mask with no expression. The eyes too large, too dark. I screamed, stumbling back, my chair tipping over. The face vanished. I ran downstairs, checking every lock, my heart pounding. The doors were secure, the windows closed. I called Jess, but she was asleep in Europe, so I left a panicked voicemail. I grabbed a kitchen knife and sat on the couch, the lights on, staring at the back door's glass panel. Around midnight, my phone buzzed a motion alert from our backyard camera. I opened the app and saw a grainy image of someone standing at the edge of the yard, motionless, staring at the house. They were wearing a dark hoodie, their face obscured. Then they stepped out of frame, and the camera went black. I called the police, who arrived 20 minutes later. They searched the yard and found nothing, no footprints. The officer suggested it might have been a prank, but I could tell he didn't believe me. I stayed up all night, the knife in my hand, jumping at every sound. The next day, I installed blackout curtains and extra locks, but the fear didn't go away. A week later, I found something that made it worse. I was cleaning the upstairs office when I noticed faint scratches on the window pane, like fingernails had dragged across it. They formed a single word, Kayla. I moved in with my parents the next day, and I haven't been back to the townhouse since. Jess thinks I imagined it, Last month, I got a notification from the camera app, a new motion alert. I opened it, and there was that same hooded figure, standing in the yard, holding a piece of paper with my name on it. I deleted the app and never looked back.